Hello, and in this video, I'm going to talk about a notification of the Ministry of Finance dated 3rd May 2023, which is pertaining to a notification under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. And under that, the central government has notified professionals, chartered accountants, company secretaries, and cost accountants in practice as the reporting entities under PMLA. A lot of confusion is being created all over. There's a lot of flutter. The press all over is full of news on CAs, CSs, and cost accountants being brought under PMLA. People are therefore logically perturbed. And therefore, I thought maybe I might help to see if there are certain views that might possibly relieve the tension a bit. So let me just get quickly started with this small lecture on the changes or the notification of 3rd May 2023. By the way, this is the notification. You can see on the right hand side, if I'm hoping that you are able to read the fine script on the screen. 3rd May 2023, the government, in exercise of powers conferred by Section 21 SA Clause Roman 6 of the PMLA Act. PMLA, by the way, as you all understand, this Prohibition Prevention of Money Laundering Act. This act is not unique to India. Similar laws exist almost in all FATF compliant countries. The objective of this law is to attack the use of the financial system by entities engaged in anti-social activities such as money laundering, criminal activities, terrorism, etc. There are several so-called criminal proceeds of crime which are listed in Section 3 of the PMLA, and the proceeds of crime thereafter are scheduled in the schedule to the PMLA, which includes things like narcotics, drugs, terrorism, etc., all kinds of anti-social activities. So if there are proceeds of crime which are either used, having been derived out of these activities, or the proceeds are intended to be used in carrying such activities, the intent basically is that since money anyway flows through the financial system, the system should try to curb the use of the financial system for assisting such activities. So how come chartered accountants, company secretaries, and cost accountants be notified as reporting entities? Currently, I'm sure as you all understand, financial entities, banks are covered by PMLA as reporting entities, stockbrokers, merchant bankers, etc. might also be covered by PMLA as reporting entities. But the question of treating chartered accountants, cost accountants, and company secretaries as PMLA reporting entities sounds a little audacious, sounds a little outstanding, and therefore what's the intent behind it? Let's therefore first examine what exactly is Section 21 SA Roman 6 of the PMLA Act. We actually need to read Section 21 SA and Section 21 WA together. Section 21 WA is the one that starts with definition of reporting entity, and it says reporting entity means a banking company. Of course, banking company is banks, financial institutions, for example, NBFCs. Intermediaries, for example, will be stock intermediaries, let's say stockbrokers. And then it goes to say, or a person carrying on a designated business or profession. What exactly is the meaning of designated business or profession? That brings us to Section 21 SA. And this Section 21 SA says a person carrying on designated business or profession means a person carrying on activities for playing games, for example, game parlors, or Inspector General of Registration under Registration Act, because that's where property registrations happen. Real estate agents, because most of, ill-begotten money ultimately gets invested into real estate. So real estate agents, dealers in precious metals. Why? Because once again, that's the easy way to deploy ill-begotten money, buy gold or buy jewelry. So dealers in precious metals, then persons engaged in safekeeping and administration of cash and liquid securities. For example, the lockers, those people who maintain lockers other than banks. Banks are anyway covered by PMLA. Other than banks, those who are maintaining cash lockers or whatever liquid securities. And the last item, person carrying on such other activities as the central government may by notification so designate from time to time. It's Roman 6, which is immediately relevant to us. Besides these 4 or 5 activities already listed as designated business or profession, the government has the power to designate a person carrying on such other activity as the central government may designate from time to time as also a designated business or profession. Using this power, The central government has now come up with a notification. So the question is, if you conjointly read section 21 WA, section 21 SA, and then read Roman 6 and then read the notification into it, the conjoint reading suggests that a person carrying on the following activities will be taken as a designated business or profession. That is to say, remember, very, very important, financial transactions carried out by a practicing CA, practicing CS, or practicing CMA, that's cost accountant, on behalf of his or her client. If a practicing professional is carrying on financial transactions on behalf of his client, no matter who his client is, whether the client is doing right things, wrong things, that's not material here, because if it's an additional responsibility to identify something which is suspicious, something which is reportable. But the question is, are you carrying financial transactions on behalf of a client? What are financial transactions? Once again, there are 6 transactions listed there. Buying and selling of immovable property. Unlikely that chartered accountants, etc., would be carrying out activity of buying or selling immovable property. If they are, then they very clearly are covered. But I'm sure most professionals wouldn't do something like buying and selling of immovable property. Managing of client money, if a professional, I'll for the sake of brevity, I'll call them corporate professionals, chartered accountants, company secretaries, cost accountants. I'm calling them collectively corporate professionals. So if a corporate professional is managing client money, if at all he manages client money, some of them do, they handle clients' funds. So if they manage pure advice on making investments, investment advice is a different issue altogether. Managing client money, they manage client money. The client has entrusted money to be managed by corporate professionals. That's managing of client money. If a professional is making investments in securities or others, managing securities or other assets, that is, you are managing the investments of your clients, or management of bank savings or securities accounts. If you're managing bank savings or securities account for your client, you're organizing contributions for creation of what? Creation of companies, creation, operation, or management of companies. If you are, in fact, this line is the bullet is a little wrongly placed here. It should actually be organization of contributions for the creation, operation, or management of accounts. I'm sorry about the wrong bulleting. This line is connected. The next bullet should actually be coming here. Sorry about that. But so organization of contributions for the creation, operation, or management of companies. What does that mean? Quite often, I'm sure professionals would realize that very often professionals are engaged in organizing capital into companies. I mean, they sort of act as entities which assist companies to get capital, contributions of capital. I don't want to give more details into how capital is organized, but I'm sure some people would understand what do I mean. So professionals are responsible for organizing the buildup of capital, particularly share capital, for either for creation, operation, or management of company. That is, if the corporate professional was responsible for getting capital into companies. And then finally, the last bullet, which is probably likely to create biggest confusion, is creation, operation, or management of companies, LLPs, or trust, and buying and selling of business entities. If practicing professionals are doing this on behalf of their clients, that is to say, creation of companies, operation of companies, or management of companies on behalf of clients, LLPs or trust, and buying and selling of business entities, in that case, they become reporting entities. So the question is, for a practicing professional, for a corporate professional to be covered by third May notification, are we saying that all chartered accountants and company secretaries and cost accountants come within the purview of PMLA? Potentially, yes, if they are carrying financial transactions on behalf of the clients. When I say on behalf of client, what do you basically mean? That the corporate professional is responsible for either deployment of money or sourcing of money. He's handling money, handling either the sourcing or the deployment of funds. The whole thrust of PMLA, please don't forget that the thrust of PMLA basically is either sourcing of money or deployment of money, which can either be based on proceeds of crime or could be deployment of proceeds of crime. So the whole concept of PMLA is towards funds flows, flow of money. Flow of money is happening through professionals. Professionals are engaged in providing a cover for money. Professionals are engaged in organizing money or the deployment of ill-begotten money. In that case, professionals have a good idea of what or who is the beneficial owner of the money. And there, the professionals become reportable entities, meaning they need to then report by reporting to FIU, IND, any suspicious transactions, or the professionals also need to be engaged in detecting the identity of the clients. I'll come to that once we conclude that you are a reporting entity. So in order for the third May notification to be applicable to a practicing professional, several conditions need to be applicable. First of all, the person in question is a practicing CA, practicing CS, practicing cost accountant. The person is doing this financial transaction. What financial transactions are we talking about? The 6 transactions mentioned there, meaning transactions involving either deployment of money or sourcing of money for or by way of buying or selling of immovable property, managing of client money, managing of securities or other assets, managing of bank accounts, contributions to capital of companies, and creation, operation, management of companies if the professional is engaged in any of these activities. Number 2, on behalf of a client. Number 3, not a mere professional service. All company secretaries and chartered accountants do form companies for the clients. For the purpose of formation of companies, quite often we do a form filing, we probably pay incorporation fees, we probably might incur some other incorporation expenses and subsequently get reimbursement from the clients. Are we handling funds for the client? Answer is no. Merely because you engage yourself in a professional service of, let's say, forming or incorporating companies, you're not carrying a financial transaction. I would reiterate, financial transaction once again means something which is deployment of money or sourcing of money. For the how would creation of companies, I mean, entail deployment of money or sourcing of money? I'm sure a lot of people understand that very often shell companies are created basically to provide a shelter to ill-begotten money, and very often professionals unfortunately are some way or the other associated with these activities. So if corporate professionals are engaging in such an activity, then they become reporting entities. If you become reporting entity, in that case, several obligations come. Then there is an obligation to, number 1, maintain records, to do first of all, do a KYC on the client. If a practicing professional, corporate professional is carrying any of these activities, it will not be open for the professional to say that I did not know what my client is doing. I did not know where the money is coming from. I did not know what's the source of money, because you are supposed to do a KYC on the client. Like a bank is supposed to do a KYC on a person opening a bank account. Likewise, a corporate professional is supposed to do a KYC on a client. So you cannot hide behind the curtain to say that I don't know who my client is. I don't know where the client got the money from, because you are supposed to do KYC on the client. So if you're at all handling funds for a client, you need to know, you need to carry a KYC, know your client, a KYC on the client, and then decide whether at all the source of funds or deployment of funds by the client constitutes a suspicious transaction. If it does, then report it. So in that case, if you become a reportable entity, reporting entity, several obligations under PMLA come, that you need to have a designated director, designated officer, need to do a reporting to the PMLA authorities and so on. So I'm hoping that the purpose of this video, namely to allay any apprehension that all chartered accountants, all company secretaries, all cost accountants, even if they provide professional services, come under the purview of PMLA, that's completely misplaced. If at all corporate professionals are handling financial transactions, that too on behalf of clients, namely, they are the ones responsible for either of these activities, the 6 transactions I talked about, and that employs funds, financial transactions, inflow of money, deployment of money that's involved, then PMLA might certainly catch. I think the bigger thrust of this notification is that if at all ulterior activities are subsequently detected, and very often professionals are found to be associated, it will not be open for a corporate professional to say that he was not aware, he did not have a clue on what the client is or where the client has got the money, etc., because the notification throws onus on the corporate professional to do a KYC check on the client. With this, thank you very much. I hope this video helps, and please do continue to subscribe to our channel. Keep watching more of our videos and articles. Thanks a ton.